So anyway, I thought that I would be calling this video. I do not have AIDS. Well, I revealed to a friend on Facebook that I am going to start this year with a bang, and I never really have divulged this information to anyone except for my family. But people have been very cruel. Some people who know or knew that I was HIV positive took it upon themselves to reveal that information to the world. And it's hurt me so much because of the stigma that's attached to being HIV positive. But what people don't realize and what people don't know is that HIV does not actually lead to AIDS, and it is not a death sentence. You have to listen to a 2-hour video. There are a couple of 2-hour videos on YouTube that talks about the fact that HIV is real, and the PCR test is the test. It means polymerase chain reaction test, and the polymerase chain reaction test was devised by Kary Mullis, and he had in fact won a Nobel Prize in chemistry for devising the PCR test, and he has come out to state publicly that the PCR test or HIV does not actually lead to AIDS. And there are renowned scientists from all over the world that have come out on the video that AIDS is a fallacy, it's a fantasy. AIDS does not exist, and AIDS or HIV does not lead to AIDS. So whatever they tell us about AIDS is all a hoax. But people die possibly because of being ostracized, and also possibly most likely because of the effects of the medications that people have to take, because they're told that if they don't, then their being HIV positive, will definitely trigger or lead them to develop AIDS. But in fact, AIDS does not exist. So, Kary Mullis, who had won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for the polymerase chain reaction test, which determines the existence of AIDS or HIV in your system, has come out in the open on a couple of videos on YouTube that AIDS or HIV does not lead to AIDS, and AIDS is in fact non-existent. So I see my image on this video, and it horrifies me. It horrifies me because that is one of the effects of the medication. You develop a intolerance for fats. So whatever fat your food has, or whether it be chicken from meat, beef, beef or pork, you cannot eat it, because if you do, it will trigger loose bowel movement, and the loose bowel movement will actually will weaken you. And because you cannot or your body cannot absorb the fat, then that's what happens. This is the effect of my body not absorbing the fat, that it shows up on people's faces. They people, those who are taking medications know it, that the medication actually is the one that's causing this, and couple that with the ostracism and being denigrated for having HIV, and the fear that surrounds being HIV positive, and the fallacy that you might have AIDS, and the fear behind it of contracting AIDS, causes people to totally shun you. And when you're shunned, it is a very painful thing that you go through, because you did not do anything to people, to anyone, and yet you are being shunned because they think there's a judgment. It's like a judgment on you, that you are being judged for being sexually promiscuous, because that is the impression they think. Oh, because he is sexually promiscuous, then he deserves, or she deserves, to be treated that way. Or if you're not sexually promiscuous, then maybe you are in fact doing drugs. You're shooting drugs, and you're using syringes that are have been compromised by the HIV virus, and that will then, which would then trigger the AIDS virus. If you were a drug addict that has been shooting drugs with contaminated syringes, that's what they always say, that you develop HIV, or you contract HIV and you develop AIDS. But in fact, that is not real. That is not true. It's all a hoax. So this is, a wake-up call. I have known always. I realized that I have this inner knowing. Inner knowing that I will survive this. Somehow I knew. I've always known that I will survive this. Whatever it is that they tell me, I had always known in my heart, deep within, that I will not succumb to AIDS. And back in 2003, I discovered these couple of YouTube videos with Dr. Duisberg. Dr. Duisberg had penned a book detailing the fact that AIDS was created, that AIDS is not real. And once he came out with that book and published that book and entitled it "Creating AIDS," he had the funding for his research program at the University of California in Berkeley had dried up. So he has been living off funds from that.